non-custodial banking is a concept that doesn't exist on Google yet. So I checked this morning, and the term has been coined by us. It doesn't exist yet. And so before we go into what non-custodial banking is, let's go into what banks have done this year and what custodial bank are doing. Well, you've got Silvergate, Silicon Valley Bank, Credit Suisse, Signature, First Republic Bank. These are all banks that failed this year. And unfortunately, banks today that take custody of your assets are based on fractional reserve banking, which means that they only hold a portion of your assets in their actual coffers. And once you've put your bank in the trust of your money in the trust of a bank, it really is no longer yours. It's you really just have a contract with the bank that allows you to take the money out so long as they have it. And what happens is bank runs. So we believe it's time to reinvent financial services. And what we see is that we have a lot of these financial products that are moving to the on-chain rails. So we've got tokenized securities that are moving there. We've got a lot of non-securities that are already on there. And we especially have a lot of systems that allow for much more efficient and non-centralized financial transactions. Access to DeFi is completely hindered by custodial infrastructure. So you can't access DeFi in a meaningful way if you have your money stuck with a bank. Legacy financial infrastructure is really the gatekeeper to fiat. So if you want to pay your bills in fiat, you have to go through a bank. There's no other way. And at the end, the modular aspect of Web3 is way superior to what we have today in the financial system. Existing banking infrastructure is slow, it's heavy, it doesn't allow for the modularity that Web3 brings. So, and you must know there is really a difficult relationship between banks and Web3 companies and DAOs today. So there is a fundamental problem of incompatibility between Web3 and banks. So you have an AUM-based business model of banks that today what they want and the way that they finance themselves is through having funds being custodied with them. This is the only way you can actually enter into a banking relationship is by custodying funds with a bank today. And Web3 businesses, they want to stay self-custodied, transparent. They want to be able to have an on-chain governance which allows for everybody to see what happens with the treasury. And so what happens is that for banks, we have high compliance costs that are linked to working with Web3 companies because they're not used to these type of companies that work on a completely alternative rails for everything that has to do with transactions. And they can't onboard DAOs because they don't understand how DAOs work. They would have to implement a very expensive custody infrastructure to be able to continue working on an AUM-based model, but then still service Web3 companies. And anyways, Web3 companies want to self-custody, and self-custody doesn't generate fees for banks. So what happens is that banks are not motivated to onboard Web3 companies because DAOs and Web3 companies are not really good clients for banks. It's not an interesting business model to bring them on. And so even crypto banks like Signum, they are refusing clients that come from the Web3 space and are business clients. And so we're still stuck with this incompatibility. We don't have accounts for DAOs. We don't have accounts for Web3 companies. In Dubai currently, 80% of Web3 companies are unbanked. So what do you need as a DAO to empower decentralization? Because payments in fiat is something that you need also as a DAO. But how can you do it when you can't get a bank account? You need full treasury control and you don't want to delegate custody. You need to have a transparent on-chain financial governance framework. So you want to be able to stay transparent. So, putting your assets into a bank account just takes away that transparency from your community. Then you need to be able to do you need to be able to do batch payments in global currencies. So just having, to have one payment after the other is really a pain. You don't want to be forced by banks to set up legal infrastructures just to be able to access the fiat railways. And by setting up these legal structures, you're really centralizing your operations, which is something you're trying to avoid. And you want to be able to use multi-sigs, because this is how you handle governance and directly validate transactions with those multi-sigs. But otherwise, your needs as a DAO are not fundamentally different to those of a normal company. You still need to be able to do payments. You still need to be able to lend or borrow, use factoring to be able to have faster access to your funds. You need privacy. You need cards to be able to do purchases on a day-to-day basis, and you need to be able to access investment products, especially yield-bearing products that are not just DeFi-based. So what really non-custodial banking is using a Web3 engine to drive on both DeFi and TradFi rails, meaning that you can still access your DeFi needs, so you'd be able to access all of the DeFi ecosystem without having to take out the money from an account, but you really have the possibility to use TradFi, mainly payments on fiat, but also then cards and more things that are coming on our platform to handle your needs. And what we've realized, and when we're looking at the data that's out there, we're seeing that, of course, today it's a niche that we're targeting, which is Web3 businesses, DAOs, which is still very small when you look at the assets under management or where you look at the size of these DAOs, the transaction volume. But this is the superior way to handle transactions, handle finance. And so there is a movement happening of all businesses towards Web3. All businesses will start having their Web3 wallets. And so we'll understand the power of non-custodial banking. So we're not a bank. Skyline Digital does not have a banking license. We don't require one, and we will not need a banking license in the future either, because we are transactional. We have a financial intermediary and VASP license, both in Switzerland and in Italy. Our vision is really to propose a fully non-custodial Web3 neobank service, first to Web3 businesses, and then, as we believe it will be a superior service to normal banking relationships, to any business out there. So how does it work? You have a transactional core and compliance core. Of course, we are regulated, so we need to make sure that our infrastructure is not used for terrorist financing or for money laundering. We aim to provide a full business product suite. So you've got payments and OTC trades, but also lending, cards, tokenized securities. I'm talking here mainly about securities that today many, normal corporate treasuries have access to be able to manage their treasuries, but DAOs don't. DAOs are limited currently to only DeFi type of yield, which is much more risky currently than, for example, just having treasury bills. So these are products that we want to provide to our clients. Compliant privacy. This is something that currently, if you're paying your service providers and your contractors directly using crypto, you're really showing all of what you are as an entity, because this is the main wallet can be seen directly from the transaction. But also you're enabling each of those contractors to see what the other one has earned. So this is a problem, and so we want to provide privacy in a compliant manner. Of course, a DeFi interface, but this is really based on the modular way of DeFi and open banking. What we currently provide is payments and OTC trade. So typical transaction, you've got a DAO that wants to pay in fiat. You onboard with us, and you just link your wallet with our dashboard, and then you can use your stable coins directly, and you can pay your third parties using using really similar to an e-banking tool. You're able to input their bank information and you can pay them directly. The other way around, investor wants to subscribe to an offering of a company that, or just a DAO that does not have a legal entity and does not have a bank account, but they don't per se, use a lot of crypto yet. So they'd be able to subscribe directly using our infrastructure, and then you get paid in stable coins on the other end. What does it look like? As I said, very similar to an e-banking tool. It's also available through API, so you can integrate it directly into your app. Key facts. So it takes about one to 2 days to onboard with us. We do a full KYB, and we're specialized also on KYCing the more complicated DAOs, more complicated structures. Also, we are allowed to onboard non-incorporated DAOs. Currently working with Maker, for example, that's not incorporated. This is something that has been audited by our regulators as well. We don't have any account or onboarding fees. So that means we're really just transaction-based. We take a fee on the transaction that happens through us, and the best fee that we currently can propose is 0.5% that we propose to our highest volume clients. We're integrated with Safe, so you can work directly with your multi-sigs, MetaMask, Fireblocks, Brave. Backing currently by Stake Capital, Funfair, and Token Angels, and other angel investors in the token space. So I'm open to questions. If you want to onboard with us, go and scan this QR code. This is my Telegram, so if you want to meet, go for it. Open to questions if anybody has any.
Do you KYC and KYB if you're a non-legal wrapped DAO?
Yeah, you still need to KYC with us because we're obliged to do so with regards to anti-money laundering and terrorist financing. So that's really up to the DAO. So the way that we work is that we have one person or an entity that represents a certain core unit or a guild of a DAO, and we need then the on-chain we need the governance vote to prove that this person and this wallet specifically has been approved by the DAO to transact a certain amount with us. And so this is the way that we onboard DAOs. That would have to go through another voting procedure, and so you'd have to provide us with, if there's a new wallet associated with that account, then we'd onboard that new wallet and the new person that's responsible for it as well.
The account would basically switch from the wallet of the previous KYC person
yeah.
to the new KYC person.
Yeah. Yeah. So that we just need to onboard the new person. Yeah. We could also have multiple people that are responsible for the wallet. We just have to know who it is and identify them. Yeah.
So Skyline a protocol?
Sorry?
Is Skyline a protocol?
So it's not a protocol. We work. We have a non-custodial infrastructure, and then we're connected to market makers and banks, and that's how we're able to route the payments.
Ownership structure of Skyline?
So it's owned by myself and my co-founder. So, yeah,
Where is it based?
it's based in Switzerland. We currently have the holding in Switzerland, and we have an entity in Italy as well.
So, it's definitely non-custodial.
Yeah.
But do we have to go through your contracts to achieve things? Or?
So the way that it works, and maybe I can go back because I think you arrived not long ago, so no, that's fine. So the way that it works is really that we're providing payment possibilities for DAOs, right? So a DAO would onboard with us and then connect their wallet, and we're connected currently with multiple wallet infrastructures, Safe, MetaMask, Fireblocks, and Brave directly. So you basically connect your, sorry? Yeah, exactly. So using that, you're able to connect with us, and then you'll be able to, you'll say, okay, well, I want to pay Max in US dollars. He has this account that I want to pay Fritz in euro, and I want to pay Anna in Swiss francs. And so we create a batch payment and create a quote directly for you in stable coins. And then you approve that transaction directly from your Web3 wallet, and it gets transferred to the bank account of your choice. So in that way, we're not a protocol; we're really a centralized entity.
Of escrow to ensure that people that you can prove on chain that people receive their money.
So we don't prove on chain that the people have received their money, but of course we provide a detailed transaction record, so you're able to see as soon as the payment has arrived. But it's not something that's on chain yet, no. But that's an interesting idea. Any other questions?
What would you say is a competitive advantage? What is it ultimately that you are doing here, or what are you providing? What is the ultimate solution here that you're providing for?
Yeah, so there's really two competitive advantages. One is currently what DAOs are doing is they have a quite complicated structure where they might have multiple entities, they might have multiple banking relationships, or if any banking relationship, or they're using their founder's banking relationship to be able to then pay their contractors. It's very convoluted and complicated. Also from an accounting perspective, it's really strange, and it's actually quite dangerous. Also, you have rather than that, you can just connect with us, and then you can just handle all your payments. You don't have to have multiple structures, multiple banks, multiple currency accounts, and you don't have to set up legal structures just for the purpose of having banking relationships. And we know that even crypto banks currently are forcing DAOs to create legal structures to be able to open an account with them. So that's one competitive advantage. When you look, and that's what I was a bit saying at the beginning, is that you have, currently, of course, you can have a bank account. You can have a bank account, you can have a Kraken account, you have, and then you route your payment flows. First you exchange with Kraken, then you send it to your bank, and then from your bank, then you pay. Maybe you have multiple banks. But first, these are multiple transactions that take time. You need to do multiple banking transactions. You need to do, and so that's each time a different input in your accounting software. So it's more complicated from an accounting perspective. But then also you don't know whether your transaction from Kraken or from another centralized exchange will actually land in your bank, because the banks are starting to block those transactions. Because for them, it's a compliance risk. They don't see it's a black box. These exchanges are not very compliant for them. And so they're actually blocking transactions coming in from exchanges. So, it's a risk if every month you need to exchange or either you just exchange your entire treasury and then hold it with a bank, but then you're exposed to having, a fractional reserve banking based bank that holds your funds, and it's not transparent for your community, etc. Or every time you need to do a payment at the end of the month, you're faced with the possibility that your payment is blocked. And we don't face that problem because we have good banking relationships with multiple banks that are redundant, and they know what we do. They understand our business, and we work with transactional banks that don't care for assets under management. So they're very happy to route transactions through them. That's their business, and we pay for that as well. And these are banks that businesses that just want to open a business account can't get access to because it costs quite a bit to have those accounts.
Are DAOs your only clients?
DAOs are very interesting clients for us because they have complicated structures that don't fit with the current banking system. But we're also servicing normal Web3 companies, also institutional investors. We're also servicing the founders of those DAOs and Web3 companies. But it's really a business solution. It's not a B2C solution. All right. Any more questions?
Are you live?
Yes, we're live. We've been live for a year now, very much in a submarine mode until now. We're just making our coming out, so to say. You can onboard here, try us out, and do transactions as of tomorrow if we accept your KYB. Right. Well, the computer shut itself off.
It says it wants to go home.
Exactly.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you support any Ethereum or?
Yeah, currently Ethereum main chain. We're going to be integrating Polygon and Binance Smart Chain soon. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.